Good afternoon and welcome everyone to yet another exciting event of ADMH, Health Tech Conclave on changing direction in healthcare with technology. As you are aware that ADMH is trying to be the change agent with its emphasis on use of technology and digital tools for the growth and transformation of healthcare business. It's a continuous effort to bring topics and initiatives which will help the community to learn and evolve on a progressive basis. I'm glad that we are getting very good attention from the ecosystem, and now we are a buzzing community of 15,000 plus healthcare stakeholders in active engagement. I invite each one of you to please help us grow this community through your contributions in the form of news, views, reviews, articles, interviews, sponsorships, and anything else that you believe can help the fraternity to grow further. I further take this opportunity to welcome all our speakers of the day. The event is divided into two panels. We are going to witness some of the finest orators and authorities, a very diverse group of experts that we have today. I welcome Dr. K. Madan Gopal, Senior Consultant, NITI Aayog, Government of India. Welcome, sir. Mr. Sandeep Jha, Vice-President, Manorama Infosolutions Private Limited. Dr. Ravi Gaur, Founder and Director, Dr. G. Peth Labs. Mr. Kishore Gojia, IT Head, CIMS Hospital. In the second panel, we will have Dr. K.Hari Prasad, President, Apollo Hospitals. Mr. Pawan Chaudhary, Chairman and Director, General MTaI. Dr. Nandkumar Jairam, Consulting Advisor, Manipal. Dr. Aloke Mullick, Group CEO, OMNI Hospitals, and Dr. Somyakant Das, co-founder, MTaI Healthcare. I once again welcome you all, sir. I would like to thank you and welcome our sponsors and supporters. Manorama Infosolutions, a leading healthcare solutions provider. Dr. Gaur Path Lab, a leading pathology chain. Innoserve Digital, leading healthcare digital marketing company, and our community partners, ASMA and Digital HR. I wish this conclave a great success, and I'm confident that we all will have a lot of takeaways from the event today. Thank you and welcome you all once again. Over to you, Rahul Binoy.
Thank you so much, Rahul sir, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rahul Binoy, and I'm the event head and your host for today, representing ADMH. With that being said, let's get the ball rolling. The first panel discussion of the day, the topic of discussion is healthcare trend in India, challenges and opportunities. Now, I'd like to welcome the eminent speakers we have in here today with us, starting with Dr. K. Madan Gopal. He's the Senior Consultant Health, NITI Aayog, Government of India. He's a health professional who has been working on issues related to health system reforms in India for more than 28 years. He has worked on numerous projects across sectors in India and abroad for providing and managing programmatic, technical, and operational areas. Dr. Gopal has received the National Award in Excellence in Implementation of RSBY for Outstanding Achievement in the Individual category for implementation of RSBY by the Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India. It was also felicitated by FOSG for his contribution towards women's health. We welcome you, Madan sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Moving on, we have Mr. Sandeep Jha. He's the Vice President of Manorama Infosolutions. He has 17 plus years of extensive global experience in healthcare, IT consulting, advisory, and digital transformation in the payer and provider space. Mr. Jha has worked with leading pharmaceutical companies like Inspira, IQVIA, Rico, RJ Corps, and Medanta, Fortis, and Ranbaxy, leading large digital health transformation projects. Mr. Jha was also a part of the world's largest universal health coverage program by Government of India, Ayushman Bharat, which covers 40 crore beneficiaries and Asia's largest and richest municipal corporation, BMC, having 400 healthcare facilities, which serves 5 crore patients annually. Welcome you, Jha sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we have Dr. Ravi Gaur. He's the founder and director of Dr. G Path Labs. Dr. Ravi Gaur is a qualified oncopathologist by profession and has 30 years plus experience in the field of pathology and healthcare management. Dr. Gaur is an expert in setting up diagnostic chains, wellness centers, allied healthcare businesses, skill training centers, home care, mobile services, public private partnership, COVID testing and kits, vaccination and public private partnerships, and much more. In the past, he has successfully established 100 plus independent and 30 hospital labs of various sizes and nature across the country. Dr. Gaur has received multiple awards and recognitions like SHM Medcom Award for Best Diagnostic Service Provider of India, SHM Award for the Best Cancer Diagnostic Lab in the country, Special Award by Health Minister of India for setting excellence in laboratory practice in India, along with other recognition. Thank you so much, Ravi sir, for joining us. Finally, to the moderator of this August panel, Mr. Kishore Gojia, IT Head, CMS Hospital. He has over 15 years of experience in healthcare IT, where he has been instrumental in introducing new age technologies for various hospitals. He has completed his graduations in computer science and an MBA in information technology from ICPI University. Additionally, he's also an expert and certified professional in security, data, network, and servers. During his tenure, he has achieved many milestones and has also been awarded in many categories, such as the most promising CIO, CXO Health Excellence, the next CSO 2020, the best CIO 2020, the most impactful CIO in Gujarat, and CIO of the year 2019, among others. Thank you so much, Kishore sir, for joining us. And once again, I thank you so much, everyone, for accepting our invitation. And I look forward to a fabulous deliberation. Leaving the screen to you, Kishore sir, you may take up the discussion forward now.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you so much, first of all, ADMH team, for giving us such a beautiful platform where we can share our knowledge, and that will be helpful for the community, and they can go further for and utilize that skill in their environment. And I'm blessed today. I have a beautiful panelist from the different areas. They are the leaders in their quadrant, and today we are going to discuss about the technological things, how technology has give us a beneficial instrumental things, especially during the COVID time, while the healthcare have such a crunches and having a difficult situation, how technology will helpful. And today we have a panelist with us, wherein slowly we go turn by turn with the different topic, and not taking much time considering the time frame. I'll directly jump into that discussion part, wherein I would like to first discuss with the Dr. Ravi Garg sir, related to one topic. Sir, what are the some of the biggest advancement in healthcare technology that happened in a COVID-19 pandemic days?
Good afternoon, everybody. And I think thank you, ADMH, for having this work kind of activity, which is really needed, because we need to create the awareness in the community, and how the as the ADMH stands for is like adoption of digital marketing in healthcare. And that's probably and that's the right kind of information to go out in the field, because there's a lot of information, but what is authentic, validated? I like to thank ADMH for creating this wonderful platform, and of course giving me an opportunity to talk about it. And thank you, Kishore, to welcome me here. And I'll probably straight away now come back to your question, what you asked. But I come from last almost COVID almost 2 years, and I think I was one of the first ones, along with the major labs, about 5-6 labs in the country, to start with the COVID testing in India. Rather, for that matter, we were the first group of people, because we went to the government to say, allow us, let us be partner with you, because that time, probably way back in March 2020, there were hardly any labs. There were no private sector lab for that. Government also really don't know what to do. So it's been it's been a long journey since that time. And I think a lot of learnings we have seen that, a lot of challenges we came across. And probably I think I'll be able to share something on that. But before that, I like to, say that, year 2020 was the year of where the world shut down, and then slowly and cautiously reared its head to change the world as we know it. Because everything was, even nobody knew what's happening. It was totally uncertainty, and whatever you planned the morning, evening is to change. Next day, we again plan, implement again. So that is the biggest, I think, the learning we had, and I think that's where the technology came to a big help to all of us. We've all watched, I think, as everything healthcare providers, in fact, everybody, support providers, consumers, patients, everybody, policy makers, we were in a shock. And because the robust healthcare system and the world best system started crumbling down. What to talk about the Indian system? We probably, in the face, under the pressure of COVID-19, the face of crisis, one must adjust and change. And that's what we say, that we've learned and become one of it, because otherwise we become one of the casualties. And healthcare is no exception. So a lot of innovations happened, and a lot of discussions happened. I think message across the platforms. This is something like ADMH, but these kind of multiple platforms came up with the tool and resources for creating these programs. And I think that led to innovation. And I think like to say that, disruptive innovations, which is probably leading to delivery. To innovations actually, begins with ideas. That's the first thing. And ideas only have a real value and are truly innovative when they can be implemented as a solution. I think that is where we are talking about today. The COVID-19 pandemic has overwhelmed the entire healthcare system, to be very sure, and has shown us our current systems are absolutely vulnerable. The consumers are demanding now more from the current system. It's definitely the time to reset and rework for turning these complex challenges into simple solutions. Now, one of the important things to understand before we implement the solution is to understand the local conditions from the perspective of the people living there, and build up solution to overcome technical and logistic barriers. The localized solutions have to be developed because every geography probably have a different challenges. Today, we require solutions that are intuitive to use, easy to implement, and have easy accessibility by the community. And that's what, we on one side, we have very highly urbanized areas, big metros, bigger, all best world facility. On the other side, we have primary centers, rural areas, they're still doing well. But in between, some urban slums have come up. Now, which is where the challenges were. We didn't know because nobody had the mapping. We didn't realize the situation, the problem would come. Of course, the new reality, the healthcare system in future will be different from the current healthcare system. The silver lining is now different can mean improved healthcare, patient empowerment, and immense new business opportunity. So with this, I think I will not touch upon the important, the couple of things which has really happened. You can say what you talked me about, technology that happened. And so technology touched all aspects of healthcare, whether it is the diagnostics or the treatment or it's a quality. I think that's something because all the three parts were covered up. On the diagnostic part, I think you can date because India came up with the best of solutions from no lab or zero lab literally for the COVID RT-PCR molecular biology testing, which is one of the finest technology in the world today. We now today we have about 3,000 plus labs doing RT-PCR across India, and that's a beautiful part of it because the technology is now going to stay. Probably people have realized that RT-PCR, molecular biology, molecular testing, which was really not, it was there earlier also. It was used only with limited scale, probably somewhere we're using it for cancer diagnosis or some high-end testings. But that become now as a common man because everybody, even GP and everybody knows, even the patient knows, are you doing RT-PCR? And for them, RT-PCR became some kind of a CombiFlam or a Clocin tablet because that's a blood sugar test. So that technology is now there. So that technology is available. People developed skill that shows the strength and capability of Indian, healthcare system. We have all the good, provided there's a right environment created. Now, the right environment was created by the quality makers. We have, wonderful support from the ICMR. We have a lot of support from the the policymakers, regulatory authorities, NABL probably said accreditation part, which came up after that. The biggest thing was, the advancement was the accreditation awareness. People got aware of something like quality, ICMR lab, NABL approved lab. Now, NABL accreditation did a wonderful job. They use virtual technologies to audit all the labs and give her almost like, within 48 hours or 72 hours, the accreditation and policies in place. So within no time, and that kind of a thing, because accreditation came up and quality awareness demand from the customer, making sure the world-class quality labs are there, turnaround time reports are maintained, are given, and accreditation as per the world quality. I think that's the use of technology done. Virtual audits in technologies never happened in India. It was all there, all SOPs, all processes, round the clock audits were given. And not only the audit, after that, the random checks, follow-up checks, how do the peer group maintain themselves, and the continuation. So I think that's ingrained now. I think that's going to be forward. Now, everybody found it very difficult, like assessors flying all the way from one location to another lab. Smaller labs were not able to, or hospitals are not able to afford kind of the costing. Now, prices will come down and quality is going up. I think that's the basic advantage of the technology we had. Now, of course, another important technology was the point of care testing, you can say that, or telemedicine along with that. Teleconsult, we never thought. Probably we are behind. Now we thought what is going to be there in 10 years from now, which was now here. Because every consultation, best the doctors who were not even, they're in conventional wisdom. It's always important that, always felt that unless you were doctor's clinics, unless doctor examines you, no treatment. But today, I think COVID taught us that can happen. Although I'm not an advocate of eliminating the human touch, I always feel that, the screen touch is going to help, but human touch will definitely do the healing. I think both the part is very, very equally important. But I think it's an augmented support where people cannot reach, where doctors are not available, where the patient are actually there, endemic or epidemic or pandemic is happening. There are logistic barriers, there is a time requirement. I think telemedicine can do wonderfully well. And that's where the point of care devices came up now. I think every house almost, we have seen a small clinic coming up. We have oximeters, we have PP instruments, we have this. And the basic testing for a small test kind of a thing like, now the IL-6 and the D-dimer, these are small devices which came up. And now the market is flooded with these. I think that's another area. And these technologies, and because of the volume and the requirement, world gauge, this is the kind of situation. The prices have come down. This is not really like, because technology has done it, bringing, otherwise healthcare cost was up. Now today, the RT-PCR, which was started at 4,800, today it can be done on almost like 500 rupees. Probably that's a rate which has been there. So how can you do that? And that's where I think the best of technologies in logistic barriers, IT, informatics, validation, R&D, and of course the policy provider. And then everything was integrated into a system, end-to-end integration, whether it's awareness, because we had the community health people working on awareness, NGOs making sure that whatever the thought process are actually working on ground, and then of course the hospitals and everything. There was tertiary hospital to primary healthcare and to policymakers. They came into one group, and that's again the integration done by the technology IT industry. Very well done. Like ICMR app is very well known. You can define containment today within 24 hours, know the country, which area we have RT-PCR coming up, infection. I think same can continue for dengue, same thing for malaria, same thing, because it's very difficult today even to understand the tuberculosis, which part of the world, India, which has more tuberculosis. We know, but actual work live on ground, I think that's something, one case diagnosed, right away we know this is happening there. So when we have this real-time data flowing in, we can definitely take care of public health and community and serve them better. The data and of course, I think lastly, probably I'll say getting things digital, patient safety, home care, disruptive models, because everything was like, a lot of doctors are many clinics wasting time with staff for getting an appointment booked and dispensing this thing, but everything became digital. Patient, appointment to payments and everything. I think that also saved a lot of productive time of the medical provider. They were able to actually, utilize that particular time. So I think continuing all this, I feel that we have done a great work, and I think this is going to continue, probably going forward. If you work around utilizing these technology integrated to our healthcare system, probably a lot of the people who are at the bottom of the line, who are last man out in the post, they are at the very bottom of the pyramid for that matter. They not have access to the healthcare. They can definitely get some good healthcare, that too very affordable, and and the correct advice. Otherwise, probably they were carried away by whatever they had locally in their hand, and that's made a lot of difference. I think this is what I'd like to add on here. That's what we did.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gaur. It is such a wonderful insight which you have shared. And you rightly said, yes, technology has helped a lot in each and every aspect, especially during the COVID time, on each and every moment, on every step. Healthcare, being a healthcare service provider or any service provider, they get a challenge on that part which they didn't face any times, and wherein technology has helped a lot to give a better care, better service in affordable rate. That is rightly Dr. Gaur said that technology help to deliver a care in affordable manner, so that the service provider can easily help them, the patient, those who are in rural area, those who are not affording the any of the service or any of the treatment. So, and of course technology was there, but somehow COVID has pressurized, and COVID has give us some different kind of touch, wherein all suddenly have started the technological adoption. And nowadays we are looking that each and every organization are adopting the technology and they are using it in a better way. If I can share our example, in the first phase of the COVID, we had one major challenge wherein we want to create a system wherein that will be monitored or each and every visitors, no matter whether they are patient, they are staff, or they are vendor, or whosoever they are. So we want to control them. We want to report to government that how many are infectious person who has visited, how we have done, and what are the protocol we have follow for that particular situation. Wherein technologies help a lot. You won't believe, within a 3 days time in Sims Hospital, we come up with the entire barcode based digital software and model wherein visitor has to just scan and the entire protocol will guide them where to follow, where to go, and the end of the day data will be available in single click. So that is a friend, that's the beauty of the technology, and yes, of course we are using it. So going further, and
I'd just like to add just one, because it's something what you really touched upon is the real-time monitoring, because now variables and everything, yes, people were actually linking it to their system, and that's probably we have learned they are of much use. Otherwise, earlier it was like one of the fashion statement, but today no, they are need, and if you integrate into a system, we can do wonders.
True, absolutely true. So moving forward to the another topic, I would like to ask to Sandeep Jhaji related to the topic. I think Sandeep ji has been with us. Yes, Sandeep ji. So the topic for you is how AI applications are providing a data-driven insight and helping to address the challenges of the stringent healthcare system.
Yeah, thanks for this question, and very nicely moderated by you. You started. I thank ADMH for having me here and all the eminent panelists. On behalf of Manorama Infosolutions, I thank all of you, and very wonderfully. Things were put it by you and Dr. Gaur, that what is the need of a digitization in healthcare and how this digital transformation has to take place today, because this is the only domain which has been left out completely from the digital transformation for the years, right? And where you see the another story of this domain, it's very surprising. The radiology domain of this particular entire segment of healthcare was a way back digitized, right? If you see the DICOMs and all, I mean, it was 20, 30 years back, they had a DICOM. And if you talk 20, 30 years back, what banking system has, what e-commerce have, they have not have even a concept of having it, right? So, I mean, it was very wrong to say that healthcare had never realized that digitization was has to happen. It was there in radiology. but we miss that things globally or in India also. Maybe due to the regulatory, maybe due to the little defocus from the government side that this is not that important. And COVID, you say whatever it is. I mean, with that, it has a little different. Uh, scenario which is brought it to the table that was, if you don't do it today, you will be completely left behind. How you will manage this billions of population, right? So the digital transformation is the actual strength out of that, right? So I'm not discussing, I'm not, going to redo all that. What Dr. Gaur has very nicely elaborated and has actually given you the real example what has happened in India for last 2 years and globally, and how we have seen the system has been adopted. And it was very easier for a organized country like India to adopt that transformation. We are not so complicated like US and other healthcare system where there is a huge legacy to get migrated to a new system. It's not easy, right? Where we don't have anything, we have to start easily. The same way, like Africa has started directly from a mobile telephone. There was no PNT lines in Africa, right? So we had a very wonderful opportunity over here talking, and just I'm pulling the line where Dr. Gaur has left this entire digital transformation. And Kishore, you were talking about, we have seen one small journey 5, 6, 10 years back. There was a digital pathology stuff was there, right? There was a onco where, I started my career with Ranbaxy and diagnostic industry. I spent it 8, 9 years, right? We were doing a lot of R&D and SRL, right? So when we had that first digital microscope, okay, our one of our doctor, Dr. Mithilesh Chandra, Dr. Simi Bhatia, they try to capture the images, and we try that. We have a very limited pathologist, and digital and the histopathologists are very hard to get in all the locations, right? Now you have to make the tissues, make the slides, and send it to somewhere else, right? Sending that courier is tough. If you have a very high quality image, capture that, and you can send that image to somewhere other places with the same resolution. We are seeing that image. Another side of radiologist can, a pathologist can actually read that image and can tell you that where is the malignancy and where is that diagnostic they have to do something. It's sort of some solutions. So digital pathology started with the histopathologist. Now you have seen same thing, it has happened with the radiology. Okay, radiology is transformed to the teleradiology, right? That there is a lack of lot of radiologists. In UP, 22 crore of population, we have 125 radiologists. Now imagine what kind of turnaround time. A patient comes to a hospital to get an X-ray and he gets a report after 4 days because there is no radiologist practically at the ground. Okay, who will report? Right? So scenario has been changed, and then they said, okay, fine, take an image, convert to a DICOM, send it to somewhere else, outsource the radiology department via teleradiology. Now, what we are seeing in last 2, 3 years of AI, right? We are actually helping to read the report also and do the reporting also, right? That digital image of a slides which we used to transmit to get a report, now we are trying to helping a pathologist so that quickly it can be read and can be correlated and created to that. So the AI's role comes in very nicely in that area. Similar thing is started with the teleradiology, where there was a lack of doctor. We were outsourcing the radiology department. Now we are trying and training that particular AI to read that image, read how pneumonia need to be get treated as a radiologist, right? So those things, small things are coming up, which is going to help a lot for the humankind. Okay, especially we have seen in the COVID days, the detection of COVID RT-PCR is a 1 day time. Screening is a high challenges. Can we train a bot? Can we train a AI label imaging so that we can quickly get the X-ray done, and X-ray film can be come out in a 5 minute and can have some screening, at least at that level where there is no radiologist. So people had tried a lot, but I will not comment on the success ratio of that image and success ratio of other thing. That's a different part. But see how we are going and how we are approaching. Success ratio of Google Map, success ratio of Siri, success ratio of speech to text of Google way back in 5 years was not that accurate, which today it has, right? Today, if I say Siri, it quickly take it when there is a noisy place also. because it understand and it trained that intent to that level in AI that Siri is very quickly adopting that this is Sandeep's voice. So pitch combination and all. So the journey which we have started with this, and if we carry on, the data and things will come up, come up, come up. We'll train the bot very fantastically. So couple of things where I see Kishore that similarly, I mean, we use a lot of NLP's accuracy is not that much, right? But the way now at least a discharge summary started converted from a manual writing to at least a handwritten stuff, right? If a doctor write that entire things in computer, okay, it is now a very easier thing to have a very wonderful OCR search. I can convert that entire OCR to a machine readable data, and that machine readable data of a discharge summary can be easily converted with a fantastic NLP coding and algorithm to a codified CSDDS format. Okay, if I don't have that coding format, I don't have that standards, my EHR EMR is missing, I can't have that kind of timeline. So at least using those NLPs in EMR where at least my datas are getting captured, okay, not in the cursive writing, it is normally on the text and printable. I can easily convert those data, right? And I can do the codings very nicely, snowmet coding or ICT coding, and the more standardized and more what I say structural data I try to make to an unstructured, NLP helps a lot in that area. That's a wonderful things of NLP which I find, and it actually reduce your gap in care. Okay, so our main motive is how we change this paradigm from a reactive care to preventive care, correct? And how we convert our illness to a wellness, right? So that approach, AI's role is fantastic. Whether it's a patient, whether it's a caregiver, whether it's a provider, whether it's a health administrator, right? The kind of data which is coming, and they started coming to a machine readable data, we put a fantastic AI algorithm and we'll try to intend and build that. Like bots in hospital, right? See, there is a lot of unproductive works. If I am a hospital employee, I have to go apply for PL, I have to sign these things and all those forms. Can those all forms I have to talk कि मेरे को PF withdraw करना है, ठीक है? I have to go for a leave, I have to do this, that, what? Why I need to go and talk to HR for that purpose? I should have a bot, right? There is a certain forms. Okay, why a patient appointment should not be made with the bot? I mean, there is a no human intervention. Those bots can be well trained and can be work as an appointment desk. Okay, see how banking industry is using bot. Okay, for the completely replacing of your actual human call center to a bot. So in the same healthcare industry, if we train at a level of that doctors and clinician knows better at what extent I can put a machine and what extent I put a human. Okay, that's a call, that business need to take, but it's a fantastic tool to have it. If I train my bot ki bhaiya, I need my pathology report, I simply go and log in. I put these things, I'll get my PDF reports immediately. I put my bots a request that give me your UHID, give me your IP ID, give me your phone number, have you registered? I click, I'll got my reports back. So these are the easiest thing which actually reduce a lot of works, lot of things. Speech to text we implemented in a couple of our large installations in government. They were surprised that how speech to text accuracy, we use a lot of tools. We use Google Speech at initial when we implemented 5 years back. We use Ognito, we use other tools also. It depends on customer, whatever they built, and we built in our EMR. And see that quick EMR within 60 to 70 seconds, they can fill with the exit. And the more they train, more they talk, the accuracy of that intent and speech to text is gets improved a lot. And that's the best. Even if you start with the 1 and 2 department, it automatically, you cannot do overnight changes to all the departments, but at the start, see the pediatrician loads are lesser, gynec load is little high. So let's try it in pediatric section and train the bot and ask the doctor to do that. So these are, couple of things. TPA, your third party authority, see the discharge summary. And when the patient get released, I recently last week, I had experience of 18 hours waiting in Narayana hospital for my mother, okay, to get my discharge and approval from the TPA. What a fantastic, journey we are doing it. What is this? In the time of digitization, we are doing eyeballing. Okay, why can't a hospital submit a e-claim Why can't it be auto adjudicated? Okay, it is a very simple thing. It can be done. Why it's scan and upload? Why I need eyeballing of a doctor to do those steps? There is a parameter. They have to follow the IRDA guideline. They have to follow. This is the pre-auth on this condition. I'll authorize this condition. I will unauthorized. Right? There is a fantastic role of AI. If this clerical job and lot of clinical job can be well trained with the bot, the utilization of a doctor can be reduced, and we can put and use the same doctor for all clinical work, not for this clerical job of doing all that stuff. Okay, so this is one of an area where I think that AI need to be get explored on claim and TPA and insurance adjudication, so that your discharge time would be get reduced, and ultimate patient care and other things will be fantastically managed.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Sandeep. Is rightly, I must say that our user has got so much of insight, because the AI per se is nowadays so much into discussion, and you have given a very beautiful, easy insight wherein we come to know how AI has allowed us to go one step ahead, and how we can utilize AI, where we can use it, and how easy we can tune our AI, and we can moderate and go further our protocol for the enhancing our services, which can be beneficial for our customer, can be beneficial for organization, can be beneficial for staff also. Like rightly you have given an example for HR board. So similarly, in our hospital also, we have done few things internally. I would like to share one example, because we have one protocol wherein usually my central department used to download all the data from the HMIS system, all relevant store, because we HMIS have a different store like ward and the other pharmacy store and all. So they used to download the data from the store. They used to some do compiling and all the data merging activity, and they used to submit to the account team. It took somewhere around 3 to 4 days time, and also they required 3 to 4 people engage in this activity. What we have done, we just simply developed a bot user who is not doing anything, who is just doing a set of protocol which they are doing it, and that 4 days job we have converted in within a 4 hour. Every month in first of the day, within a 4 hour time, by that AI bot will easily fetch the data from my HMI. They do the data analytic which is required, and they set the data and forward to the finance team. So yes, of course, AI has helped a lot, and the way you have explained, that is very transparent and useful information for our user, that how we can utilize AI. Because nowadays there are so many myths related to AI. AI is going to replace human and XYZ. No, that is not true. AI never ever going to replace any human being.
Always a
But
helping hand. It's always a helping hand.
yes, it is helping.
And
That is our
robotic
second
process,
point.
yeah, robotic process automation. Kishore, you
Yes,
see how you do your process for a TPA, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay,
true.
so can't be this as a documented extract the way you are doing it in your hospital. It's a fantastic example of RPA. Okay,
Yes,
and same thing in a preventive health management. Example take, I use like Apple Health, right? And if my Fitbit data are coming, how much I'm running, what is my BP, I'm a hypertensive patient. Okay, my IoT device is giving my BP. So, and what time I take medicine. My parents are elder. Okay, I mean they are very senior. I mean they are 60, 70 plus, right? Now they missed out their medicines. Okay, my mother is a hypertensive, thyroid, and nephro patient. Okay, she had around 7 to 8 medicines to take on the time. Right now, these things can be easily built with an AI and elderly care system.
true,
We
true.
need to pick what, as a business user, where we want and how we want to need to help.
True, true. That is absolutely true. So, as an user, we have to understand the pinpoint area wherein AI can help you out to do a fantastic thing, rather than reactive to convert into preventive. As you rightly said, this is the technology which help us to become a preventive, so that will be cured in advance to all the parameters. So moving further for the next part of the topic, I would like to ask Dr. K. Madan Gopal related to things. Because of that, sir, rightly you are from NITI Aayog, and our government has so many things, and they are working on our EHR project and policy and protocol. So how telemedicine is becoming a revolutionary aspect of this smarter and transparent healthcare delivery system. Sir, over to you. Sir, please unmute your mic.
If you recall, when the country has to face the lockdown, then you might have seen that what has happened. So all the patients who were requiring follow-up, they were left in lurch. And all the people, and because whatever teleconsults we were doing before this release of telemedicine guidelines in June 2020, whatever consultations you were doing, whatever remote counseling you are doing and consultations, that was illegal, because the courts have taken a notice of this and they have passed orders. So there was reluctance what to do with the patient, because it's not that we have to, as the COVID was, infection was spreading around, most of the small players, the small hospitals, they were shut down. And the government also, they have invoked the Pandemic Act as well as the Disaster Management Act. As a result, unless the government approves that institution, they were not supposed to treat COVID patient. As a result, they were shut down, and there was a situation where how to provide services to the people who were already on treatment. Before the release of this, you see how an opportunity was created during this COVID time, and we have used this thing. Okay, use this opportunity, and at that time, NITI, our member health, was the chair of the board of governors of MTaI as well. We took this as an opportunity and pushed for this release of these guidelines. And the guidelines was agreed, jointly developed by NITI and MTaI, and it was released. And it has opened a market, huge market for telemedicine. And during the early course of the pandemic trajectory, you might have seen that it was all institutional quarantine and institutional treatment and institutional isolation. As we matured in the treatment protocols, as we have confidence on managing the patient remotely, these guidelines which were released, they were put to increasingly use during the COVID for home-based COVID care. If the guidelines were not there, then it would have been a very, very difficult situation for managing the patients at home. Every year, everybody was saying that maximum people, they require treatment at they can be managed at home places. But if I make a telephone call and ask and provide some medicine and something goes wrong, then I'm held responsible. There's no legal backing for that. And this telemedicine guidelines which were released, now they have been tweaked by the National Medical Commission as well. So it has opened a way, and it has shown us a way that how to treat the follow-up patients, how to manage the patients in the home care settings. Otherwise, it would have been very, very difficult to manage this. As a result, what has happened, you have seen many models which have come up around these guidelines, and now you see that many of the players, they are having their own network of telemedicine. So as a result, you have seen as we have been doing the analysis of the healthcare system in the country, everybody says that the 70% of the care happens in the private sector. 70% of the expenditure happens in the private sector, but once it comes to footfall and utilization of the service, it's equal between the public and the private sector. Okay, so that's one thing. Second thing, when this thing started, so many private players also came into that. They are having their own network. But one of the challenges, because it is going to stay, and the government is also having a e-Sanjeevani network platform. They have done more than a crore of teleconsultation. But is it okay? So we have to see that how this teleconsultations and other things, because it is going to stay, and we have to see that how we make our treatment and the care weaving around this telemedicine guidelines. Because from the public's perspective, from the public health perspective, we have to see that how a preventive, promotive, or other care happens at the patient place. If you look at the Ayushman Bharat is having two pillars. One pillar is your PMJ that takes care of the secondary and tertiary care. The other pillar, I think very few are aware about that, that is the health and wellness center, that is comprehensive primary health care to provide provided through the health and wellness center. Both the components are there and both are mutually supportive to each other. For augmenting the facilities at the health and wellness centers, telemedicine is very essential and an integral part. IT enablement at the health and wellness center is one of the important parts. The other aspect is that will take care of the preventive promotive so that the load on the tertiary and the secondary level hospitals are not there. So that the people who are requiring to be managed at that level, that means if they are detected hypertension and diabetes and the other non-communicable diseases, they can be managed remotely through a telemedicine network, which already is evolving in the form of e-Sanjeevani. Having said this, another aspect is the PMJ. If the patient somehow lands up into the PMJ network hospital, then they have been also provided treatment. When the AB PMJ was launched, at that time we were having the dilemma for having a transaction software. We call that as the PMJ 1.0 software. At that time, there was lot many activities because I would be only restricting myself to the telemedicine aspect. I'm just coming to that again. Once it started, because my previous speaker they spoke about the integration and the automation of the claim process. That is not AI. That is only automation of the claim process. AI is you look at the Google Assistant. It recognizes it. It recognizes your behavior, and based on the behavior, the machine is trained, and it will just suggest you many things. In radiology, we have been able to use this machine learning and the artificial intelligence to the optimum wherever radiologists are not there. But for adoption of any technology, you require to see that are there people where the task can be shifted and where they can be managed at the remote level. We have to get an answer for that. It's not that the technology would be a solution. We have to see that how the technology is adopted so that it becomes a part of the program. Unless the technology is adopted and becomes part of the program, so you don't get bothered. We are very much on time. So 30 minutes are there. So don't get nervous about that. We will finish on time. Okay. Second thing is, I was talking about the PMJ. PMJ 2.0 software which is there. So hospital would be having only one software in which the other insurance companies also can use the software for settling their claims. That kind of enablement has happened. Now the second thing, as rightly pointed out, that can't we have automation as you are having automation of the claims. The insurance companies are also pushed to have an automation for that. If one bucket is created, if everything is clean, all the prerequisite checklist is fulfilling, if the claim is fulfilling all the checklists, it will go into that bucket and automatically it will go to the that kind of clearance. There will be some claims which needs to be scrutinized. There will be certain claims which needs to be scrutinized, and that scrutiny will happen. But slowly and slowly, as happening in the Western world, where more than 80% of the claims are settled on an automation basis because they fulfill all the criteria. The moment it's just a part of programming. The moment you program it, if it fulfills all the criteria, it will go ahead. You might have seen a baggage screening at the airport, the advanced one. Some of the things it goes for surveillance, and then some of the things automatically comes back as a safe thing. That kind of mechanism is evolving. Second thing, coming back to the telemedicine aspect, I was talking about the important component, that health and wellness part. In that time, IT is an integral part, and now we have to see that how it evolves, because there can't be a one solution fit for all. It can't be like that. We would be coming up with around 1.6 lakh health and wellness center to provide comprehensive primary health care, which acts as gatekeeper for the other component of the Ayushman Bharat program. Okay, coming back to the telemedicine, during this COVID time, when we matured that 80% of the care can happen at the home level, having such kind of guidelines, it has enabled us. That means you can manage, assisted by the other gadgets like the pulse oximeter as well as the temperature, digital thermometers, and other thing they have added. Even now the digital BP is there. That has made the life easier for, because just by building some capacities with somebody who the caregiver, you can monitor the vital parameters through this consultations. In the coming years, you will be finding more such of this kind of assisted by the medical gadgets and having a teleconsultation network. So that is going to stay, and you will be seeing more of such kind of thing in the coming years. The other aspect of other thing which has shown challenge actually has happened with the health system. In India, you are having so many healthcare providers. That means if you look at that, you can rightly say that 1 billion people, they are chasing 1 billion of doctors for negotiating their health and the prices. We should see that this kind of similar kind of situation doesn't arise in the telemedicine network. Unfortunately, that is happening. Now we have to see that how we aggregate this telemedicine network and provide quality services. During this COVID time, telemedicine networks have come, but what quality of consultation they are giving? What is the volume of that consultation? And whether that consultation resulting in a prescription, whether how much the patients are satisfied, how we can give a 24/7 services, how we can give specialist services. These are the areas where we have to see that how major work can happen. It's not that if I'm a big shot, I made a telemedicine consultation network and people have joined. We have to see that we have to work on developing quality standards for the telemedicine network. Second thing, how to aggregate the telemedicine network and how to provide 24/7 network and bringing in the mental health aspects into that also, specialized healthcare. And as apart from that, if somebody is sitting in Mumbai, I can avail the services through telemedicine. That kind of network we have to create. Otherwise, we will be only having a fragmented kind of telemedicine network, and we have to struggle to bring them under one umbrella and this. So I will stop here, and if there are any questions, happy to share that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. K. Madan Gopalji. It's very informative and insightful thing which might be our viewers are not know about all this stuff which you have shared, like how telemedicine system should work. What are the viewpoints from your side? What are the things wherein government are looking positively and where they are working and on which level they want to go, and where exactly the entire team is looking our healthcare ecosystem so that we can provide a better care to our patients and all. So moving further for the another part, the last topic from this panel, I would like to ask all three panelists one few insight on this topic. I request you to keep yourself for at least maximum for 2 minutes and give your highlight on this topic, and we'll conclude the session here. So the last topic is from my side: is your healthcare organization keeping up with the ongoing trend of digital healthcare transformation? If yes, then how? Please share your details. I would like to ask first Dr. K. Madan Gopalji.
Kishore, is very interesting question because we are pushing for healthcare reforms, right from the village level, right up to the apex, that is All India Institute of All India Institute of Medical Sciences. We are in all around, because if you talk about the telemedicine guideline, that is being tweaked. If you talk about the National Digital Health Mission, we are just pushing for that. We are trying to integrate the other data sources as well. You will be coming to learn about the integrated health information platform in the coming days. So a lot of efforts are being done. If you look at if you look at the recent, I will just complete with only one example. You see the beauty of the COVID platform. We were having the electronic vaccine intelligence network before that for only the logistics management. That has been adapted, that has been upgraded to COVID platform, and you see the beauty. And if you have used Aadhaar in that COVID platform, automatically your health ID is created. You would be coming to know in the coming days that if you have used Aadhaar for your vaccination, then the ID is created. That's why you see that we are moving towards having a electronic health record based kind of health system in which right from the disease surveillance to disease service provision will happen through that electronic health record. We are moving in that direction. I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Dr.
sir.
I have one question, follow up with Dr. Madan Gopal, sir. I just, it's out of curiosity that how have you challenged, I mean, faced the challenge and come out from that? Because, we were being in a healthcare service provider and a technology company, we always had a very high rigidness 10 years back, 5 years back, when the entire fraternity of doctors been completely outlined and outside sidelined the entire telemedicine. Adopting that was, I don't know, there are a couple of challenges. One is maybe they don't want to do it due to medical legal case. There may be MLC challenge. There was no proper guideline on doing it. And great that you have met that e-prescription stuff quickly on the COVID, so it has helped the people to do that. How, sir, you overcome with this MLC related challenge and the adoption of the doctor, and how you convince? This is one. Second, sir, how you have working from the NDHM, things are coming out very nice, but how about the patient data confidentiality things? That need to be well defined. Still, I've seen that that bill is with the Sri Krishna committee. DISA was been made it drafted for 2-3 years back. There is nothing is happening on the DISA guideline. So the patient data related stuff where NITI Aayog is on it, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. There are two questions. One was, you see, the medical professional usually follow what happens at this. If they are legally allowed, and they are very happy because before the release of the telemedicine guideline also, they were having this WhatsApp consult. If you have treated a patient, even the e-prescription, the prescription of the patient is there in the WhatsApp, and they have created that kind of mechanism. The moment the patient calls, the prescription is in front of the doctor, and the doctor will advise you what to do. That kind of mechanism was there. The only thing which we did was giving a legal basis for that, so that the courts which were passing the orders, at least they are protected from that. That's one thing. Second thing about the data confidentiality, another thing, the Ministry of Information Technology, they have come up with a draft act. The act is in the process of public consultation, in which they have talked about the consent managers as well as the other managers. If suppose if the health department would be managing the consent manager of that, and they would be responsible for the data confidentiality as well as the integrity of that data. The act is in the process of, the bill is there. The bill would be submitted as an act. We would be put before the parliament for an act. That is in the process. So the moment it is out, it will be taken. Even when the Aadhaar was rolled out, this kind of was made. But obviously now everybody is now using Aadhaar for a lot many things. Even for attendance purpose also, the Aadhaar is being used. So that kind of, usually the moment you start using it, that confidence and other things build up, and the act which is to be placed before the bill which is to be placed before the parliament, the moment it becomes an act, once it is implemented, I think all these concerns will be taken care.
I'd like to add here, the conventional, I think doctors always had a rigidity to adopt these telemedicine, because that was there. But I think in COVID shows that there's no option, number one. When there's a no option, I think that's the biggest plus point with Indian health system is our flexibility to adoption, and that was facilitated by the regulation, because in Western world, again, they are rigid in everything. Once they adopt, which is a foolproof, otherwise they will not adopt, and they don't experiment, they go by pure protocols. But I think Indian system, that's the beauty of our system, where I think again, COVID has taught us, if the right regulation, right, the statutory compliances, right environment, and that it's a need, I think we can adopt very fast. And that changed the mindset of the clinicians. Look, I should do it because survival is a must. And consumer also wanted that. Yes, otherwise, no, it's like nobody is there, then what is the point of healthcare? I think, and then well supported by, of course, as Mr. Madan Gopal has said, by the government on regulation. And that, I think, helped a lot altogether.
True, absolutely right. Again, I will come and go on our conclusion part, wherein final comment from Mr. Sandeep ji from your side.
Yeah, I mean, on this adoption of technology, I mean, we are a product company. our bread and butter is R&D and innovation. The more R&D, more innovation we have to do. So we are the one who's actually the flag bearer. If we don't drive it and take it, the digital transformation won't happen. I'm very proud to say that today we have converted somewhere around 20,000 Indian government bed from a manual bed to a digital bed. Organizations like BMC, Bombay Municipal Corporation, which is now MCGM, it has 13,000 beds, 400 plus locations, including 30 hospitals. We are doing it for 6 years. Sabdars and New Wings, 1300 bedded. We converted that hospital. Kalpana Chawla Medical College, we converted. So we are actually, working neck to neck with Government of India and that guideline that digital transformation need to happen. At least do a first level of graduation to convert a manual process to a digital process. And that not only a simple digital process that you again scanning and keeping the document. No, it should be capturing a data, and that data should be machine readable data in future. So that there has to be some actionable pointers and things can be done. So that is what we are driving in the organization, and day out we are researching, right? We are converting that how 30-second, 1 minute EMR can be captured. Now, NDHM and Ministry of Health's main vision is to convert the entire district hospital of India to a EHR. Okay, that they should have a minimum EHR to generate and send it to Government of India, so that a clinical continuum of care and longitudinal record of the patient can be created. So these three things has been the citizen health ID, health registry of all facilities, care workers registries. These registries are Government of India is making. Based on that, the other people has to adopt and build that entire ecosystem. And we are actually gracing and doing fantastic things that how easily we help them to adopt the EHR practice in India.
True. Thanks a lot. And final comment from Dr. Ravi ji.
Yeah, I think just I won't take much time, there's little time left. I think two things we adopted. One is, of course, what Sandeep mentioned is digital pathology, where now actually in adoption, I have set up an organization and COVID, because the second opinion and third opinion of experts on subspecialty, because the senior pathologists, the more senior they are, more rigid they become. They want to sit behind the microscope first. So I was able to bring them out. I had in front of the microscope. There was no microscope. That more of a, the images are uploaded. And today we have a setup where all the biopsies can be uploaded right here, nationally, internationally. Second opinion is available, and especially in the area of the frozen section, it's something like a live surgery going on. The frozen section is, the biopsy comes from the OT patient to the operation theater. Within 5 minutes, the slides are made, and those wherever the pathology experts are, they can give report. Something like a robotic surgery. I think something we have introduced, and that's doing wonderfully well. I see the future. Lastly, the preventive health check we talked about. I think not only we're working on a predictive score. It's not a cholesterol value is high. Two people can have the same cholesterol value or same calcium value or vitamin D, but they can have a different score. So putting together the blood values, your environment, your lifestyle, your culture, your practices, putting to everything has got some weightage and a parameter given, and based on that we come out with a risk score, so that the 5 people may be having the same reports, but I think the risk score to disease much more. That's something I think predictively health, skin and wellness is going to be, and that's what we've done. And I feel this is something, of course, this is, I'm not like, somebody's asked the question about AI. I feel AI in healthcare will be augmented intelligence based on data. I think it cannot replace the healthcare providers, but definitely augment intelligence. Unless you do that, you won't survive, to my mind. Thank you.
True. Thanks a lot. Thank you all. And I would like to say, and thanks a lot to all the panelists, and all the viewers got so many insight from all the discussions, starting from laboratory to radiology to AI to government rules, regulation, policy, patient experience, and so on and so forth. There are so many things we have discussed, and if any audience have any question, yes, I got one question from the audience side, maybe related to Dr. K. Madan Gopal ji can give a correct answer into same. Sir, the question from the audience is, what is the government vision related to AI healthcare disease in management?
If you look at the vision document which we have shared, Vision 2035 about the disease surveillance in the country, We talked about use of the electronic health record for disease surveillance. Apart from that, we have a vertical, that is data management vertical, which is working on clinical disease support system. So pilots are going on. We see that how these pilots come up. Apart from that, there are few projects which are going on for AI in this AI, use of the AI for the TB in the TB program. Apart from that, we are trying to see that how we can bring in the AI for disease forecasting and other thing. This is work in progress, and we will be able to hear more about as the things mature.
Of course, sir, and yes, of course, we have a faith on government and the entire team. Because of that, the moment the telemedicine has been forcefully started in market, and people are used to positive in that era, wherein government has played a major role, the entire team has played a major role. They have immediately generate and send a guideline so that it will be easier for service provider as well as the patient who are taking this service. So yes, of course, the entire team from the entire participation viewers, I must say, we always have a faith in our government and in our team, and we are happy that we have that so many of leaders with us, those who are constantly, regularly analyzing the system and given us so many of insight which is useful for publicly and available for publicly also. So from my side, yes, again, I am Kishore Gojia, heading the IT department in SIMS Hospital. We are a 350-bedded multi-specialty hospital located in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And this is the very interesting session which we have discussed on a various part related to AI, related to technology, how technology help us, and how we can enhance our service, how we can increase our patient care by using the technology. Thanks a lot again, ADM team and all my panelists. Thank you so much. Over to you, Rahul ji.
Thank you so much, sir. And that was such a wonderful deliberation, I must say. And I'd like to thank all the eminent speakers for all their time and support. Ravi sir, Sandeep sir, Madan, Gopal sir, and Kishore sir, you did a wonderful job moderating the whole session. It was such an absolute pleasure and joy hosting you all. And I really hope you two all had a wonderful time as well.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much once again. Please stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let's move on to the last panel discussion of the day. The topic of discussion is leveraging technologies in transforming public healthcare delivery systems. Now I'd like to welcome the eminent speakers we have in here today with us, starting with Dr. K.Hari Prasad. He's the Group President of Apollo Hospitals. Dr. Prasad joined the Apollo Group of Hospitals and contributed to the launch of the first ever dedicated accident and emergency hospital in the country at Hyderabad. As the Chief Executive Officer, he steered Apollo Hospitals Hyderabad to be the first hospital in the region to be accredited by Joint Commission International USA. Dr. Prasad is the first individual outside Europe to be honored with the Fellowship of College of Emergency Medicine, UK, and the first individual in India to be honored with a fellowship by the International Federation of Emergency Medicine. He has also been honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Society of Emergency Medicine India, Federation for Emergency Medicine, Fellow of International. Dr. Prasad is also the author of the book I Am Possible in association with Kitaban publication. Welcome you here, Prasad sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we have Mr. Pawan Chaudhary. He's the Chairman and Director General of MTaI. He's the best-selling author of healthcare and management books like The RX Factor and How a Good Person Can Really Win. Ms. Choudhary has also co-authored with Dr. Kiran Bedi, Lieutenant Governor Pondicherry, and Mr. Anil Shastri, ex-Union Finance Minister. He has done a column with Times of India, currently writes for First Post, and is the TV host of Hum Aise Kyun Hain, where he takes up several healthcare issues with leading doctors and policymakers of the country. Two areas of medicines are especially close to his heart: patient safety and quality in healthcare, and safe neonatal vascular access. He is in the main person behind the neonatal PICC movement in India. He is the recipient of several awards like the Intellectual Icon of the Year Award, Business Excellence Award, Eric Hoffer Award, and lots more. Thank you so much, Pawan sir, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Next, we have Dr. Nandkumar Jairam. He's the consultant advisor to the Manipal Group. He's also an independent healthcare advisor. He was the chairman, CEO, and group medical director for ColumbiaAsiaHospital in India. He continues as a member of the board for Columbia Pacific Communities. He was the chairman of the NABH under auspices of QCI Quality Control of India and the past chairman of the Health Services Committee of FICCI. He was a member of the Health Insurance Forum of IRDA and FICCI. Dr. Jairam is also the founder, member of Nath Health and secretary of CAPIO, as well as the founder, trustee for Terry Fox Foundation, Bangalore, until its existence. He founded Krishna Charitable Trust. Dr. Jairam has been a recipient of many coveted awards, including the Health Personality of the Year Award by FICCI and the Alert Award. Thank you so much, Jairam sir, for joining us. Next, we have Dr. Aloke Mullick. He's the Group CEO of OMNI Hospitals. Before this, Dr. Aloke Mullick was heading one of the largest Indian corporate hospitals, 1,000 beds, KMS Hospital, Minister Road, Hyderabad. As country head of Mapada Hospital, Jakarta, Indonesia, he set up the hospital from scratch. He has been a process excellence consultant at the 1,500-bedded SJD Hospitals, Netherlands. Dr. Mullick has been practicing heartfulness meditation for more than 20 years and is a certified heartfulness meditation trainer. Thank you so much, Aloke sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, finally, to the moderator of this August panel, Dr. Soumyakant Das. He's the co-founder of MTaI Healthcare. He's a doctor and an IIM graduate. The experience in the healthcare industry is presently co-founder of MTaI Healthcare, heading business and investments. He has worked with Apollo Hospitals and Max Hospitals and has acted as healthcare and product consultant to a few startups to help them navigate through the industry. Previously, he was also a consultant at United Health Group, the largest health insurance company in the world. He served various projects for the US and Indian market. Thank you so much, Soumyakant sir. And thank you so much once again to all of you for accepting our invitation. And I look forward to a wonderful deliberation. Over to you, Soumyakant sir. You may take up the discussion forward now. You're on mute, sir. Kindly unmute, please.
Thank you, Rahul. Such an august and esteemed team. I'm privileged to be the moderator and learn quite a lot of things from people who have made the industry and revolutionized the space. So today we will talk how leveraging technologies in transforming public healthcare and the delivery systems. I mean, we have seen two worlds in just 1.5 years. We saw the pandemic, and it led to and it has led to the accelerated transformation in the healthcare delivery system all across the globe, right? And providers have always been in the front line since the very beginning of the pandemic, but we saw emerging trend of various healthcare technologies, and there was a massive impact of it in the entire process. So the industry leaders are now preparing for a long-term transformation. In fact, the transformation has begun, and by leveraging the top-notch technologies, we are preparing for the future. So having said that, I will start the discussion with Dr. Hari sir. I started my career at Apollo Hospitals, and in fact, in the first week, sir, I met sir in one of his speeches. He was visiting as a head to Apollo Hospitals, and I was lucky to meet him. So you have been veteran, you have seen it from day zero. So how do you ensure quality healthcare services through the healthcare information management system playing a role? and what transformation you are seeing in the next few years?
Good evening, and thank you for having me on this. Good evening to all the distinguished co-panelists. Technology and digitization propelled by the pandemic has actually brought in revolutionary changes in healthcare, a lot of which has been disruptive. It has landed healthcare at the crossroads. Now, organizations and institutions which take the right road from this will survive and others will perish. The new fad in that we see in our system today is apps. There are plenty of apps, and there are worth billions of dollars now, and they're just selling apps and shares on the app. So I thought it would be appropriate to deal with this topic in terms of an app. The first word of the app is A. So the future is actually going to be access. It's going to be about geographic access. It's going to be about financial access. And the pandemic has actually taught us how India, which is a huge geographic expanse with islands of medical excellence, with an ocean of inadequacy, the technology has been able to bridge the gaps. When everybody was sitting at home and connecting still with the doctors, whether it is teleconsults, you name it. I heard a lot of things being spoken in the earlier panel about telepathology. Now, India is grossly underserved in terms of specialists, particularly intensivists. So e-ICU has become has come into existence, e-emergency, e-pathology, e-radiology, you name it. And technology has created access to people living far beyond, far away from good institutions, large institutions, and quality institutions. So geographic access is actually improved, and it's going to improve further with the adoption of technology. Then financial access, it's always been a challenge in this country, and probably the reason for one of the lot of distrust that exists between the people and the healthcare organizations, particularly the private healthcare organizations. I think this gap is also gradually being bridged with the evolution of insurance and with the government coming in with large schemes, whether it's at the state level, at the national level, or at the national level, to provide healthcare for the people. So access in all its forms, whether it's geographic or financial access, the way it is provided for the people is changing, and the newer world would need to adopt to this change and ensure, as the earlier speaker was saying, that this healthcare using these channels is delivered without compromising on the quality of care that needs to be provided for the people. The next part of app is the word P, the letter P. Now, I strongly believe that the future of healthcare is going to be 4 Ps: preventive healthcare, personalized healthcare, precision healthcare, and partnerships in healthcare. I think these are the 4 Ps which are going to dictate the future of healthcare in terms of the quality of care that is provided to the people. And thanks to the pandemic, a lot of investments, both in terms of resources, research, and people's mind space have gone into preventive care. We've all sat at home to prevent that virus from getting hold of us. So preventive healthcare is going to become a big thing in the future, and rightly so. I mean, we just launched an app wherein the only thing which was available for us in terms of predicting a possibility of a heart disease was the Framingham score. And based on that Framingham score, we were all working on the prediction of an individual and the possibility of an individual getting a heart disease. Now, we decided to work with Microsoft and use all the data that we have, and using machine learning and artificial intelligence, we realized that an Indian behaved significantly differently from a European or a Westerner because of the genetic predisposition, because of the lifestyle. There were significant risk factor differences between the Caucasians and the Asian population. So we developed a risk score which was meant for the Indians, and it is working wonderfully well. So preventive care is going to become a big thing in the future, and I think all of us need to focus on that. Now, personalization of care is again going to be very, very important, because the same disease behaves differently in different people, and the same treatment regimen, the different people respond to it differently. Today, we understand disease to the genetic level. And when we understand disease to that depth, we can actually personalize treatment. Now, for a simple thing like a promyelocytic leukemia, there are, when you go up to the genetic level, a particular genetic mutation responds well just to high doses of vitamin A and arsenic without chemotherapy. So we are going to personalize. You're going to see more and more personalization of care for critical diseases. And I think that's another good thing which is already begun to happen, and you're going to see more of it. Then precision in care is going to become much more important. Previously, it was all open surgery, then laparoscopic surgery came in, and today we have robotic surgery, which is coming. This is all making surgical procedures more and more precise, and to make sure that only the part that is needed to be manipulated or removed is done, and the surrounding tissue is spared of any trauma. Proton therapy, which we have in Chennai, is one great example where it protects, makes sure that only the diseased part of the organ receives the radiation, while the normal cells surrounding it are not impacted by the radiation, which was not the case in the traditional form of radiation. So precision medicine is going to become a big thing in the future. The last part of it is the partnerships. I don't believe that any one of us, however large or small a group is, however brilliant an individual is or not, has the capability to deliver everything that is coming up in the world of healthcare. So partnerships become very, very critical. And we all talk about private-public partnerships, PPP. I haven't seen a model which is really successful. So we are still searching for an ideal model. And I think one of the reasons why this PPP has not succeeded is because amongst the 3 Ps, there's one more P which was missing. And that missing link needs to be added, and these 3 Ps need to become 4 Ps, and that is people, private, public partnership. Now, unless these 3 the people are involved into it and they become an important stakeholder in this partnership, I think we're not going to really see a partnership which is going to deliver value to all the stakeholders. Now, I believe these are a few things which are going to happen in the future, and unless we address them and unless we pay attention to them, we will be left behind in the race. I'll stop there, and I'll stop there.
Thanks a lot, sir. It's sort of an app cryptic code. A for access, for geographical, financial, and technological. And 4P, what we heard is that one is preventive, most focus that will come emerging in the times. Personalization of your healthcare and your therapy and your treatment, because 2 individuals having the same disease will behave differently. Coming to precision medicine, getting into that finer nitty-gritty of every treatment procedure that we have, and partnership. So it's a time of collaboration and co-creation, as summarized by sir. And PPP is gone. So unless and until you take people, that's a people public partnerships. So you have to, the bigger stakeholder is the population, and if you take them as a stakeholder in the entire process, the final benefit will show. So a beautiful message. Thank you, sir. Now we would go to Dr. Nandkumar, sir. sir, you have a lot of experience in healthcare, health tech, and healthcare delivery. So, as we will take one point from Hari sir, that in what ways is the healthcare system getting personalized? I mean, you see on one hand there are digital health technologies coming in the market, and you see there is an effect of personalization in the entire process. So, how do you see it, personalization with all this digital health coming?
Thank you and good evening to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I think Dr. Hari Prasad has very eloquently put across many points, and including the area of personalization. But what I would like to add, or perhaps in addition to whatever has been said, and deviate a little bit, by looking at how and what we require. Everybody is aware that the biggest burden facing this nation, particularly in urban, but also in rural areas, is the non-communicable diseases. And all of us are also aware that non-communicable diseases need to be prevented. They require to be treated effectively in order that we prevent complications, healthcare costs, and also ensure good, therapeutic ends to the patients. In this, technology will play a huge role. And why do I say this? I say this because currently, for any treatment of non-communicable diseases, whether it's diabetes or hypertension or any of the others, attention and treatment is sought from a medical healthcare worker. And by and large, that is a doctor. This is a waste of time, energy, and resources. It is possible through technology and particularly apps to enable the patient to treat himself or herself by and large for many of these conditions. So the first point is that the treatment will shift to self-treatment and self-prevention over anything else. The second point that I would like to mention is that the patient will, as a consequence of the government's action, which we heard from Mr. Madan Gopalan, become the king. Already, most healthcare workers look towards patient-centric treatment. But this will take a quantum leap forward. Today, if a person wants to make a financial transaction, he can choose any of the, apps that are available, whether it's a Google Pay, Paytm. It is agnostic. And similar agnostic opportunities are going to come the patient's way. So what I mean to say is the patient can choose the healthcare worker, can choose the healthcare partner, can choose the healthcare provider on his own. And therefore, he becomes the deciding factor of his treatment. The other point that I'd like to mention, and something that is very subtle but is significantly changing, is the personal healthcare records. With the availability of personal healthcare records, what happens is the entire history of the patient will be available with the patient himself. Today, what happens, if there is a movement of patient from one private healthcare provider to another, very often healthcare records are not always available, and one has to rely on the discharge summary and the history from the patient. This can lead to difficulties in management and also delays and unnecessary costs by repeating investigations. With the availability of the personal health records, the person is carrying the records himself. So if he moves from, let us say, a Manipal to an Apollo, then the records move with him. And there is no need for the doctor to source these records from anywhere else. This is another change that we will see and which is significant. The last point that I'd mentioned is that there will be greater transparency and accountability. A patient will be able to access records. The healthcare provider will be able to provide these at the press of a button. And this will also mean that both financial and clinical transactions, and if I could use that word, can be seen by the patient, understood by the patient, and accepted by the patient or otherwise. And this would definitely increase the trust deficit, would reduce, and there'll be greater accountability on the part of both healthcare provider and the patient. These are my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, sir, for those 2 cents. I think it will compound hugely. So if I would summarize that, tech is a major player, but self-help sort of that is coming up, that is digital therapeutics, where the person concerned with all the technical advancements will have a decision-taking power, whether the treatment, basic treatment module, the taking of medicine, digital therapeutics of what to do when a person is diagnosed with a disease, and the power button lies with the patient at the end. The patient will have a power of interoperability of data, as you suggested. So data of the patient would be under the ownership of the patient, and it can be easily carried to any hospitals. And with later technologies coming, the patient need not carry anything. The hospital, once the patient comes and there is a fingerprint of the patient, the same data uploads automatically, right? So we are moving to an age of such tech adaptation, and it will not only save cost, it will save millions of lives. And as we proceed, God forbid, we don't have another pandemic or anything, but to face the further such epidemics or such catastrophes, we will be well prepared. So thanks for it. We will now move to Pavan, sir. So thankfully, I run a company which is into remote patient monitoring, and through IoT devices, we work in India and a few other countries in remote patient monitoring of patients through IoT and AI-enabled platforms. So how do you as a veteran see how effective is the remote patient monitoring system that emerged out of this pandemic? And how do you see the future of remote patient monitoring as an entity to fight the system delivery of healthcare?
Thank you very much. And before I answer that question crisply and incrementally to what has already been said in the previous discussion, I would like to say that I really found what Dr. Hari Prasad and Dr. Nandkumar said extremely fresh and creative. And I would like to build on that. So what Dr. Hari Prasad said is that the app game has become big. And let me just share with you how big it has become and what is the nature of the game. Before 2007, there was no app market because there were no smartphones. Now there are millions and millions of smartphones. And earlier, business was dependent only on producing and consuming. Now this app game has brought in moving the consumer from his space to the producer space and also adding value. Production of apps itself is responsible for 5 lakh jobs in US. And these jobs, like for example in India, our family is invested in an app-based business called Blue Circle, which is growing by millions of dollars every quarter, but we don't find enough app developers. So that's another whole scale of digitalization, which is impacting healthcare also. The other point which he mentioned was PPP. I fully agree with him. This private-public partnership did not really work so well. In most cases, it became PPP, Tali Pito Party. Not much result was coming. And one of the reasons why results were not coming from the public-private partnerships was because the people element was missing. The private sector and the public sector could not come together because of also the social graces missing in the public side, which could not honor the doctor or the medical worker who was coming from the private side or the entrepreneur adequately. And he did not feel that this relationship is compassionate enough, considerate enough to be taken forward. So nobody criticized the public-private incompatibility, but it is time to point it out. And Dr. Hari Prasad did very well. The people element also should be there, whether it is coming from the patient piece, or I would say the humane element has to be there. So this is what I wanted to say on his piece and on what Dr. Nandkumar so eloquently brought out. Patient is moving towards self-treatment and self-preservation. Why? Because the aura of mystery which was there around the medical profession is no longer there. The internet is busting it. So the patient is becoming so much more informed that he feels that why do I need to really go to a doctor? Why cannot I go to the specialist directly? Or if I do not need a doctor, why should I not be able to handle this myself through greater study? And he also brought in the PHR point where interoperability, what you saw in the telecom sector also, till convertibility of mobile phones numbers was not there, the accounts were not moving. But now because of this PHR and every patient having his records and ownership of his records, there will be a lot of chaos. And this, what I call chaos or what you call disruption, will make new ladders emerge. So chaos is also a ladder. Chaos in the business sector is a ladder. New communities will climb this ladder. Last time this ladder was made, doctors became entrepreneurs. Now it is possible healthcare worker or nurses may become entrepreneurs. So excellent points, had to comment on it. And lastly, I would like to say only incrementally to what has been said about remote patient management. I think it has taken very effective routes because healthcare profession is a very conservative profession. Here, reform moves at glacial pace, and COVID prompted very fast movement on this reform. And now you see, if you have to measure effectivity of remote patient management, you should see how well it serves the various stakeholders. So how it serves doctors, waiting room pressure is reduced. Cost of missed appointments or cancellations is gone, nearly gone. Increased revenue and patient loads. Better prescription also because cognitive load is reduced. Why? Because the healthcare records and allergy list, etc., are all available on the laptop itself. Triaging is better. So it is healing doctors and patients alike. If you look at how it has benefited, how effective has it proved for the payer? So lesser cost, arm's length prescribing, and also tests advised also become arm's length and more accurate and effective prescriptions. How effective it has been for the government. Shortage of doctors and nurses. You must have read the McKinsey study. Instead of 1,000, one nurse being enough for 1,000 people, one doctor being enough for 1,000 patients, now one doctor is enough for a population of 1,800 people if you factor in the advantage of digital health. Large gatherings of people like Mahakam, prevention, etc., all this can be facilitated through this remote patient management or remote population management. Most importantly, it has been most effective for the patient because it saves time, reduces travel expense, patient effort, costs, less chances of infection, less greenhouse emissions. stigmatized indications like sexology or psychological issues can be more easily handled there. And also sometimes it is more effective because it is more accurate. Because we felt that accuracy might be a casualty, but in some cases, accuracy is the benefit of remote patient management. You don't suffer from white coat hypertension when you are recording your blood pressure at home, which white coat hypertension happens because of the presence of so many doctors around you in the hospital. And most importantly, and this is a study which we found in in the company Blue Circle, we found that patients are also coming back again and again to digital remote consultations because they feel that their dignity is more safe. Why? Because we have fine doctors like Dr. Aloke, Mullick, Dr. Nandkumar, and Dr. Hari Prasad here. But there are also doctors or healthcare workers who might be indifferent to the patient, who might also sometimes behave arrogantly with them. So this digital interface protects the dignity of the patient also. You know, on the digital interface, it is the patients have found, and this has come out through our research, that meri izzat bhi bani rehti hai. And we found this in another community of lower income people who during COVID started e-shopping a lot. And we found that the reason was similar because when they were going for physical shopping, the sometimes arrogant shopkeeper or fellow shopper could behave condescendingly with them. And this is also one reason. So effectively, there are so many reasons which I gave you how effective it is proving. Emotionally also it is sustaining. So I feel when so many things something provides, it cannot be taken off the table. Remote patient management is here to stay. There will be areas of improvement which are required. There will be quality controls which are required, which Dr. Madan Gopal was speaking about. But it's here in a very effective and enduring manner, I feel. Soumikant, back to you.
Thank you, sir. That was highly comprehensive. What you said, if I would put in a synopsis, that 2007, 2021, mammoth gazillions of application and application associated platforms. But at the end, it has to be human. Tech itself cannot take it further. And with remote patient monitoring, it's growing. A lot of taboo, stigma, dogma, all attached to it. Technology platform minimizes that. It provides a lot of cognitive rectifications. It improves stat for various processes. It makes the processes more consistent on the results. And the millions of data that is generated, again, provides further research to validate these processes. And I mean, it's a process. It has its own learning curve for the people involved. Quality will keep on improving. Systems will keep on modification as more of fund comes, finance comes, and more talented people improve the system. But yes, data-driven, a lot of data are generated from that, and it will improve the process. Having said that, we will move with this point on data to our next speaker, Dr. Aloke sir. So we see a lot of data and less of information, maybe. So now, gazillion of data coming through all these applications, various platforms, through e-pharmacies, through a remote patient monitoring system. The entire connected care system is growing. The good thing that COVID provide the regulatory authorities also to take a part into this. In 2011, 17, 18, the gynecologist was arrested for telehealth consultation. But now we have ocean of data-driven healthcare, and it's bringing seismic changes into the healthcare sector. So how do you see how this data and information from this data will change the landscape in the next 3 to 4 years to come, in specifically on health systems delivery?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I've been a healthcare IT practitioner I set up the first EMR company in India, and passionate about healthcare IT. And so it's always think why things aren't changing in India. When the US program kicked off, when the British program kicked off, we were just crawling along. And despite having great administrators, great hospitals, great doctors, and great IT guys like you, okay? And you're a doctor also. Things started changing, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. First comes PMJ, very well administered scheme, more than 50 crore beneficiaries, and a huge amount of disbursements. Claim amount was virtually running into billions of dollars, and which is mostly going to very impoverished states. And some of the largest claim amounts have gone to states like Chhattisgarh, very impoverished, right? And Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Jharkhand, right? Karnataka. Nearly, as I said, more than 50 crore families, 50 crore population already covered under the scheme. Still, the so-called digital transformation, every other industry is transformed in India. Healthcare still was plodding around. We were still writing case sheets, and we were still storing case sheets, and it used to pain me. I mean, see, the whole world is moving on. What are we doing? And then the government explores the NDHM bomb, right? And I'm really amazed with the audacity of this scheme. I was one of the first guys to download the app. At that time, it was only working in the union territories. I still downloaded it and kept waiting. And it started working. The moment it started working from Pune, I created my NDHM ID. And pronto, you can upload your documents, you can connect. I believe they are aggressively connecting to hospital IT systems, to all the major lab providers. And this country will succeed where Apple didn't, where Microsoft didn't, where Google didn't. Google and Microsoft created their own public health record PHR apps. They invested huge amounts of money in that, and they ultimately had to shut it down because who is going to get the data in? Here, I'm sure they must have done a lot of research. I really compliment the team which has gone into this. And after the huge amount of effort, they are now actually connecting with a simple unified database. They are connecting labs and hospitals across the length and breadth of the country to your NDHM ID. You can be admitted in 10 different hospitals. Your data will get pulled in there, right? You can be sending your samples to Lal Path Lab today, to Thyrocare tomorrow, and your reports will be there. And this PHR, in a very kind of secure way, you can share it with your doctor. So suddenly there is a huge ongoing democratization of information. In fact, we were in a hospital going ahead with a massive EMR implementation plan to make us totally paperless. And now we are modifying those plans to sync it with the NDHM plan. Obviously, the government does so much work. So it's better and cheaper to write piggyback on that rather than trying to do something yourself, right? So this is really going to change things. Imagine the wealth of data that you can harvest for public health, for disease forecasting, for epidemic forecasting, for forecasting the requirement of doctors and nurses and medicines and life-saving medicines in various parts of the country. It is mind-boggling. And all this has been done without fanfare. Most of the country doesn't even know about NDHM. They are right now in a soft launch phase, right? They are right now, they first did it in the Union territories. They kind of, it was virtually a pilot for them, working out the kinks. Now they're rolling it across the rest of the country. and bit by bit connecting with every lab, every hospital. And so now moment I log into my app, it said, okay, there are some private player partners who are hosting the records. I'm sure the government is paying them, and I'm sure there must be some kind of a data validation security thing which is there. It tells me which these are the two available, currently available lockers, which so just because the data requirement is so huge, in case of Aadhaar, the data locker is with the government. In case of NDHM, the data lockers are with the private party under full authority control, right? So there are two private parties right now. And it also asked me, okay, you select the hospital from which you want to import your records. Select the lab from which you want to import your record. It is still early days, but within 2 years, this thing will be rocking. And then we start worrying about the question that you asked me. 10 years ago, not 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it was virtually 10 years ago, when I was still in IT, and we were trying to respond to a big RFP from the state of Western Australia. So it said that we have had EMR systems and EHR systems for the last 20 years. We have a lot of data, but we don't have enough information. So they were asking for a company to analyze that data. In those days, AI/ML was not in vogue, right? So today it is a simple AI/ML job where these guys love to work with tons of data. In those days, it was very difficult to work with tons of data. But now with the AI/ML capability growing, India is trying to grow in that also. In the last 2 years, 2 master's program in AI/ML come up. Okay, one is BITS Pilani, one in IIT Hyderabad. We didn't have a single master's program in AI/ML in India. Okay, and so much so I was horrified. I mean, there was a personal touch to it because my son was trying to do his master's in AI/ML and he is forced to go to Europe. I had to write to the Prime Minister, you want to be a AI/ML superpower where China is surging ahead, Europe is always ahead, US was always ahead, and we don't even have a single master's program in this damn country, right? 2 programs have started, one in IIT Hyderabad, one in BITS Pilani, right? So things are really looking good. Things are really looking good. Thank you.
Great word, sir. Positive future is the synopsis. So we talked about how in a country diverse like India with so many variations, so many diverse, so many different terrains, different hospital and healthcare delivery with massive lacunas. At least the regulatory bodies have come up with some smart, some formidable platform which behemoths failed. I mean, it's a question of maybe a question of willpower and culture and dedication to build a platform. It is data secure, at least in the initial stage. There is the biggest problem, data interoperability. That was not there, is being addressed. The client, the end patient has the power to choose sort of healthcare delivery, health diagnostics, and various associated industries. And as we say that from a simple pivot or a VLOOKUP, people are now growing up to AI/ML and learning courses. The good thing is that people in the healthcare medical fraternity should have these courses in their colleges also, because when a when a doctor uses technology and uses Excel sheet, he goes mind-boggling, or she goes like, why should I use it? So maybe the courses should be designed so adaptable, so nice, and can be introduced at a very ground level so that the human resource force is well equipped to take this further. So thank you for your views. So we will just take a futuristic question and a view from all of you before we end this. So I would love to ask you, it's 2030. What major thing that's not now present in 2030 would be there, which will change the health tech delivery? So we'll start with Hari Prasad sir. What do you think at 2030 there would be a dominant new technology that's not now, but would be a game changer?
I think there'll be a lot of new things which will be happening. whether it's on technology, whether it's on the molecular biology or whatever. But I think in 2030, we'll be talking more about genetic therapy than anything else, which is really personalized and which is really precise. And that's my prediction for 2030.
Yes. So one is genetic based treatment. Every person will have the genetic mapping and genetic code, and he or she will say, boss, this is what my genes say. And my genes say I need this treatment, not that treatment. Yes, point well taken. We will move to Dr. Nandkumar, sir. Sir, what's your tech update for 2030?
Well, I'm going to be very disruptive and say as follows. Today, if you look at any tele portal, you have the ability to diagnose and to write a prescription. You do not have the ability to actually treat the patient remotely with a procedure or surgical care. That will happen. And that will be the game changer, which is going to completely look at medicine delivery in a different form. So sitting in Delhi, somebody could take care of a surgical procedure, perhaps in the remote parts of Bihar.
Okay, point well taken. So it's procedure, a tele-procedure sort of thing, and not just a robotic surgery. For basic procedures, a person sitting at a geographical distance can do it easily, and the after effects would be good, and it should be proper tele-surgery or a tele-therapeutics, which would be the norm. So we will move to Mr. Pawan, sir. What is your prediction for 2030?
My prediction is that machines will make us more humane. There is a tribe in Japan which is called Hikikomori. This is basically a cluster of people who don't want to interact anymore with human beings. They say that interactions with human beings cause stress and distress. We prefer to interact with machines. And there are millions of them now across the world they are spreading, because machines don't judge, machines don't discriminate, and so on. So this data which these machines will collect, IoT will collect it, cloud will store it, big data will analyze it, and going further from what Dr. Nandkumar just said, AI and 3D might implement it at home. So this is the prediction which I feel machines may make us more humane, but to drive these machines, we have to become technologically savvy. There are a lot of doctor friends of mine who, like you said, Dr. Soumyakan, say that Excel sheet, doctor say Excel sheet bharwaoge, kaise bhare hum, you know, but wo to bharni hi padegi. And this is what I feel, and I'll pass it back to you.
So point well taken. So machines will play important role, but machines will have a more humane approach rather than, I would say, the hard objects or the hardware. More of human, more of emotions, and more of understanding. Machines will understand human more. So to conclude, we are moving to Dr. Aloke. So 3 points well taken. What is your point that will close our discussions on a good note?
Yeah, lots of things which are actually being done today will become commonplace. The US Army has been doing tele-surgeries in the battlefield for the last 10 years, at least from the Gulf War onward, they were doing it. Many of us might have used the Babylon app, which actually has in many countries have been registered as doctor. It can give you diagnosis, it can write prescriptions, chemists will honor that prescription. So lots of things will move from man to machine, from man to application. Doctors actually at a very levels, luckily surgeons will not get replaced. You hurt yourself, you will need a surgeon to operate, even if he is remote. But lots of non-surgical specialties might get replaced because there is an app to make a diagnosis and to offer treatment. There is a smart potty which will pick up your urine and your stool and give you a diagnosis. I mean, there are smart sensors in your home, a whole glass panel in your home, which will give you an update on your health status. The patient will be very, very well informed about what's wrong with him. And he will be given his own options, and he is wise enough to choose his options. And he can then choose an option to whether he wants to go to a machine or wants to go to an actual doctor. That is going to happen. Seriously, that is going to happen. And then as a society, we need to decide whether all these out of work doctors, carpenters, and engineers, what do we do? Do you lay them off, or do you give everybody a universal basic income? Right? All those things are going to come. We are in for a ride.
Wow, this is really a panel of cutting edge, very well informed doctors who are speaking about UBI also. We should have another discussion on that someday.
Definitely.
So to conclude, as Alok sir said, more machines will come, but the process will be more democratized and more power to the person who matters. It will get to the consumer, to the patient. A lot of systems will go. I think doctors will always be there. There would be a combo. When computers came, people told that people will be jobless and all. But computers have created more jobs than any domain. So I think machines will come, but people will be trained to run these machines better, to maintain the quality, to manage the catastrophe that this machine can do. And people like us will keep on discussing these things with more optimism, and more discussions will lead to more knowledge sharing, and hope all the endeavors go good.
One more point. One final point from me, if you may. Hospitals and healthcare systems which fail to adapt to this growing democratization of patient choice and patient information will fall by the wayside. They will go the Kodak way, the Xerox way.
So yes, institutions who those who don't adapt will be dinosaurs and be in the museum. Thank you. Thank you, panel. Very, very privileged to host this. And we will have multiple such sessions and discuss more innovative and more smart health tech delivery propositions as we go ahead. Thank you all. Over to Rahul. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. And that was such an insightful and informative discussion. And I'd like to thank all the eminent speakers for all their time and support. Aloke sir, Pavan sir, Nandkumar sir, Hari Prasad sir, and Somigan sir for moderating this session wonderfully. It was such an absolute pleasure hosting you all, and I really hope you two all had a wonderful time as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. I was with many doctor engineers.
Thank you.
Now, finally, I'd like to thank our wonderful audience. This event would have been incomplete without their support. There's a feedback link in the chat box. Please do fill it up to get these certificates. And also do follow our social media handles to get all the updates on upcoming events. Thank you so much once again. Stay safe. Thank you.